Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Ron's personal fitness page online. And today we are going to talk about the number of calories that you should have throughout the day. Now, we know that we need protein, we know about the good carbs and the beneficial fats, but how much should I have? Well, we talked about protein being about zero point 0.7 to zero point 0.8, all the way up to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you need anywhere from 130-ish to 150 grams of protein a day. Everything else kind of gets calculated off of that. But another tool that I can use, and we're going to go ahead and share my screen here with you. Another tool that you can use is the TDEE calculator. Now, what that stands for is Total Daily Energy Expenditure. Now, I will tell you that where people make a mistake with this is they overestimate their output. So we're going to show you how to get around that, okay? So if I go ahead and move over to here, you can see that I've plugged in my stats, and it's just tdeecalculator.net, okay, up here. And it'll bring you to a page where you plug it in, and then it will bring you to this page. So I am a 55-year-old male who currently is 225 pounds at 5 foot 9 inches tall. And here's where we're going to say that I am sedentary. Now, I'm actually somewhere in between moderate and heavy exercise because I work out 5 days a week with the weights, and I'm trying to get at least 3 days of cardio in addition to that. So over the weekend, those 2 days are getting cardio, and then I try to fit in a cardio session on the other days when I'm already lifting weights. So, but by picking these, it will assume that I require more calories. Well, right now I'm not trying to bulk up or even maintain. I'm trying to cut down a little bit. So I am going to, which most people are trying to cut down, right? They're trying to go to a lower body fat. So I am going to pick sedentary, which is going to give me the least amount of calories that I require. I am about 15% body fat right now, which is a healthy amount for a male, but I want that down into the single digits. So one thing that you'll see is, we're going to highlight right here, my ideal weight is 152 to 159 pounds. Now, someone like myself who has been weightlifting and bodybuilding and powerlifting and all that since I was 12 years old, I carry a lot more muscle on my frame than the average 55-year-old male. Okay, I'm not bragging, I'm just stating a fact. So one thing that you'll see here is it is an estimated number taken on an average of height and weight. Well, you know, they did away with height weight tables, which were, I guess, based for insurance originally, and they came up with BMI scores, a body mass index. But it too is a height weight scale. It is clearly your weight in a relationship to your height, and they come up with this score. So it's no better than the old scale was. So don't get hung up on your BMI score, especially if you lift weights. See right here? So don't take them too seriously, especially if you lift weights. So using different formulas, formula from 1964, 74, 83, and 83, they all come up with roughly the same number. In fact, as we get more modern, if 83 is considered modern, 40 years ago, the number that you should be actually went down a little bit. Now, it does talk about muscular potential here on this page, and so on. We're going to get to that in a second. But the number that I am most interested in is called my basal metabolic rate. And as you can see, my basal metabolic rate is 2,244 calories per day. Your basal metabolic rate, or your resting metabolic rate, is the number of calories that someone my size requires for all the biological processes to take place. It is the amount of fuel I need in my tank every day to keep the machine running. Okay? Now, because I chose a sedentary activity level, that number now says 2,263. So another 450-ish, 449 calories to finish the sedentary activity that I do. Moving from the chair to the car, or, walking to the kitchen to make lunch. Those are those extra 450 calories, give or take. If I said I do light exercise every day, well, there's another 400, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm 840 or 839 calories more than my basal metabolic rate for light exercise. Well, that's if I want to keep the weight that I'm at right now, which is what we call maintenance. So my maintenance calories, okay? If I want to lose weight, it needs to be less than this. It needs to be less than this, okay? It definitely needs to be less than if I consider myself an athlete, right? So if I am maintaining my weight, even with a sedentary lifestyle, I'm going to need to consume about 2,700 calories per day. But if I want to lose weight, it needs to be less than that. And it needs to be less than that at the rate of 500 calories per day, excuse me, to lose a pound of fat a week. So in other words, I'm going to create a deficit. And my deficit is going to total 3,500 calories a week. So that's why they put these calories per week. So this 18,848 minus 3,500 calories should result in a 1 pound weight loss. If it's 1,148, I should expect a 2 pound weight loss by taking the 7,000 calories away from that. But 1,000 calories per day less would put me at 1,600, 1,700. That's pretty low. That's pretty low, especially if I'm exercising. So I'm going to monitor my weight on a weekly basis. I might take my weight on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the next Monday is the number that counts. Okay? So when I get on the scale on Monday, I'm going to compare it to last Monday and to next Monday, and make sure that it is traveling in the direction in which I expect it to be going. If it's too quick, if I'm losing weight too much, I need to add some calories. Because if I'm losing too quickly, you can bet you're not going to maintain that. And your body might be burning muscle, and we don't want that. So we are aiming for 1 to 2 pounds a week, which is 50 to 100 pounds a year. So don't think that that's nothing. All right. So I've just determined that I'm obese. I'm not worried about that. I'm never going to get to this normal weight unless I am hospitalized and am in bed for a month. I don't think I could ever be 152 pounds. But I haven't been 152 pounds since junior high, maybe. Okay. So that is not a realistic goal for a person of my frame and size. So anyway, I am going to embark on my weight loss journey with this information, this tool, if you will. And I'm going to use these numbers to base it off of. If I start eating 2,693 calories per day, and I'm not losing weight, because remember, these are maintenance calories, then this is correct. All right? If I am losing weight on this amount, then this wasn't correct. And these are at best estimates. If you don't know what your body fat is, you'll see that these numbers vary considerably. We'll talk about that in a second. But down here, it talks about your maximum muscular potential. And again, it's using a formula here on how ripped or how low of a body fat could I get. Well, at 5% body fat, I would weigh 166 pounds, meaning that of that 166, only 5% or 8 pounds is fat. Okay? So that's pretty low. That's ridiculously low. At 10%, I'd be 174 and so on. At my current, it's kind of guessing what my current muscle is at 15% body fat for this height. Well, it's not guessing. It should be accurate, right? And then if I'm using their idea for calories here, they're going with 30% protein, 35% fats, and 35% carbs for these will reflect probably this one right here, okay? This here. If I want to lower the carbs, that will up the protein a little bit compared to the other two that you see here. But my carbs are lower compared to the other two. But my calories are going to be the same. I've also added fat to this one considerably. If I'm doing higher carbs, there's going to be lower fat and lower protein. I really don't want to be lower protein. I certainly don't want to get below 200 grams of protein a day. Okay? Now, if I'm trying to cut down, this is a logical number right here. This is too low. This is basing it off of my lean muscle tissue. Well, your lean muscle tissue, you're hoping to gain more than that. So you don't want to maintain this lean muscle tissue. You want to give it more protein so that you're hopefully adding to that. Okay? And you can also do that with more carbs. But what I would do is pick this protein, this carbs, and whatever's left I would have as fats. Okay? These carbs are really high here. I would think they're too high. They're too high compared to the protein here. Okay? So if you need help, oh, by the way, this is a 500 calorie deficit. Okay? So off of maintenance so that you'll lose weight. If you're trying to gain weight, it's a 500 calorie surplus, and that's where you're getting those from. Okay? If you're trying to put on muscle, you're bulking up, 500 calories per day is very logical. You don't need 10,000 extra calories a day to put on muscle. This is a lot of protein. This would be a lot for me. This would, be a more logical number. In fact, I would probably take this number if I was trying to bulk up. All right? So, with all that said, now the bad news. Okay, this is all good news. This is all tools that you can use to help you at least get started. Because remember, if we don't know where we are now, we don't know where we're going to be in the future. We can't point in the right direction, okay? So right here should give you an idea of where you should be. If you did your 5-day food diary at the onset of your program, you would know exactly how many you actually were consuming, and then you can compare these numbers, okay? Like, well, I took in 3,200 calories a day. Okay, well, 3,200 calories is someone, we'll recalculate. Yeah, somewhere between light and moderate exercise. So if you've been doing that, you might find your 3,200 calories, see right here, is why you're maintaining that weight. So again, if you're gaining weight, it just means that you're in a surplus. If you're losing weight, you're in a deficit. Okay? Now, like I said, there is some bad news with this, okay? Let's say that I continue, we're going to go back to our sedentary, okay? Here's our original numbers that we were playing with. After a month, I've lost, we'll say 5 pounds, okay? Well, let's say we did more than that. Let's say we lost, on average, 6 pounds the first month. Okay, so that brings me down to 219. And I recalculate, remember 2693. Now I'm only burning 2,633 calories per day. Those 6 pounds were using up 60 calories per day just by being there, by me carrying around that weight. That's why you'll see very heavy people will actually consume quite a bit of weight or of calories just to maintain their weight. And you're like, my gosh, you would think moving around that weight, well, they compensate by eating too much. The minute they cut down, they start losing weight rapidly because your body is burning up calories just carrying around all your weight. Okay? So that it didn't change this number. It won't change my ideal weight. My BMI score went down slightly, right? Still obese. um, and all my other numbers are going to be reflective of the new 60 less calories or so. Okay? If I don't recalculate this at least once a month, I will my calculations will be based off of someone who is still that heavy. So my total daily energy expenditure will be based off of a heavier person, so it will lessen my output. Okay, I'll be consuming too much for that amount of output. Because as I lose weight, my basal metabolic rate, the calories out just for existing, breathing, heart rate, digestion, brain activity, all of those things require calories. But the less you weigh, the less calories, because the other calories were used by the muscles to cart your heavy butt around. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but that's what it is. So if we still think we treat the body like we still weigh what we did at the beginning, we will find it harder and harder to reach our goals because we're going to start losing weight slower and slower and slower because we're going to be consuming too many, thinking we're in a deficit when we're not. Okay? So let me emphasize that. Our basal metabolic rate changes. Let's say I'm very successful. I lose 25 pounds. I'm now 200 pounds. And my body fat would go down too, wouldn't it? My body fat, if I was 225 and 15%, I might only be 12% here. And I'm going to recalculate. Oh my goodness. My basal metabolic rate is only 2,000 now. If I stayed at the old numbers, 2663, I would be consuming 100 more 150 more calories a day too much. I would be thinking I was in a deficit of 150. I'm trying to be in a deficit of 500, right? But now I'm only in a deficit of 350 because I forgot to recalculate. All right? If I don't recalculate, my deficit of 500 calories will be less and less and less until such time as it becomes our normal. Depending on how heavy you are, you could actually do that. You could get 500 less calories per day and be at maintenance. Okay? Which you will eventually, right? Eventually, we hit a plateau. And a plateau, all a plateau means is that you are at maintenance. You are maintaining your weight by consuming what you're burning, or burning what you're consuming, however you want to look at that. So, what is the solution? Is it to keep eating less and less and less? Or is it to add some activity and exercise to my program? Well, obviously, it's to create a deficit, okay, with exercise. If I'm doing moderate exercise, this is how many calories I could eat and maintain my weight. But I found that I only need this many to live. So if I go 22.94, boom, there's 2 pounds a week because I'm going to be 1,000 calories per day less than what it takes to maintain moderate exercise at my weight. All right, I hope this all makes sense to you. So by adding exercise, not only do we help to add efficiency to how we burn calories, okay? There's things called partitioning. So our body will partition calories and it'll partition carbs and protein, hopefully sending them to the muscles. But if our muscles don't need them, it has to send them somewhere, and that could be fat if it were an excess. Okay, so we want to maintain a deficit of calories so that we're using up everything that we eat, and 500 calories more a day of stored body fat. Okay, because that is where the 500 your body's gonna make up for that, because we need X amount of calories to live. So we need to be in a deficit to create the need for the body to burn those calories. So at first, you can get away with just lowering your calories. Okay, you're probably overeating if you're overweight. I'm sorry to say that. Or you're eating so much that you're maintaining that heavier weight. So it should be relatively easy to look at it and go, I drink 3 Mountain Dews a day. How many calories is that? Well, there's your pound a week. I can promise you that. Switching to water, switching to sugar-free iced tea, or, some other solution there. So, again, you want to analyze your diet. But eventually, you're not going to get away with just lowering your calories. Even if you're fasting, you could only get so far with that. Okay? So we have to add activity back in. And you'll notice that everything that has my name on it, my logo for my studio, is the triangle, right? On one side says cardiovascular, exercise, cardio. One side says strength training, and one side says nutrition. So that's, these two are activity and this one is intake. So to be balanced, you have to devote 2/3 of your attention to exercise and 1/3 of your attention to nutrition. That's attention. That's not, it's said that up to 80% of your progress will come from the kitchen, not from the gym. And that's true at the beginning, but eventually only about 30% of it will come from nutrition, because you'll know exactly what to eat, even when to eat it. You'll know how to gain and how to lose. You just can manipulate it, okay? But by then, you're devoting 2/3 of your attention to exercise, 1/3 being strength training and 1/3 being cardiovascular. Now, this goes in the face of some other experts, but I'm just telling you, in my experience, if you do not balance your triangle, you will not see the results maximally. Okay, you might see results, but they won't be as quick as you want them to be. They won't be as long lasting as you want them to be. Good strength training builds muscle that if you do it right, you're actually building sarcomeres, little energy producing cells within the muscle fibers. Once you have those, and the more you have, the bigger that muscle is. So even if you atrophy down the fibers by, you get injured or something, you have the potential of getting it back. So, this is a nutrition talk. We're going to show you something with exercise here soon. But the point is that right now you can probably manipulate everything with calories, and right here is how you do it. Okay, this is what you need. So make sure you're going to there. Okay, So your TDEEcalculator.net. Okay? And if you have any questions, DM me on Facebook in the messenger there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. If you're looking for personal training, I really don't have anything at the studio right now as far as open times. Something may open up here pretty soon. I think maybe it might. We'll see. The other thing is that we offer online personal training. So that's another thing. I can communicate with you. We can do Zoom calls. You can fill out little questionnaires for me, and tell me what equipment you have if you want to work out at home or at Anytime Fitness or Planet Fitness or Gold's Gym or whatever, and I will make a routine for you that you follow with the app. I have my own app, and through Trainer Friend, and you take the app and you start your workout, and it tells you what exercises to perform, when to perform them. We have nutrition. I can shoot you a sample of nutrition. I'm not a registered dietitian, but I like to provide information. A registered dietitian learned this from somebody, right? So I go and I seek that knowledge myself, and I just happen to be somebody who understands it when I read it. So it's the same information, but we're not doing anything prescriptive with our diets, okay? These diets are not designed, and the nutrition program that I set up for you is not designed to cure or treat any disease, but at the same time, it will help you to learn what you need to do to lose weight or gain muscle or whatever it is that you're looking to do. And I'll be happy to help you there. Again, just DM me, and we'll get that set up. All right? So TDEEcalculator.net. And until next time, I'm Ron from Ron's Personal Fitness. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody.